Matt, just looking at your bio, how big a jump is it from, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Al Lessar with the South Bend Tribune. How big a jump is it from Ashland to the Houston Texans?
Shouldn't Mike get the first question here?
No, absolutely.
It definitely was an enormous jump. Now, the role that I went to Houston in was from an offensive coordinator at Ashland to a quality control role in Houston. So my job responsibility wasn't such that I needed that experience at the NFL level.
Eric Hansen from the South Bend Tribune. This question is for Mike Denbrock. Mike, Coach Kelly talked about kind of retooling the offense and so forth. Wondered if you could talk about if that includes a more steady, fast tempo, and then maybe some things that you would like to add as offensive coordinator to that vision.
Yeah, I don't think there's any concept offensively that, if you've watched Coach Kelly's offenses in the past, I think they really encompass an offense that's more in an attacking style. He likes to go fast. He likes to keep the defense on their heels. He likes to be very aggressive with what he does, and I think that's the direction we're certainly moving into with the athletes that we have. We really feel like we're in a position offensively to push the tempo a little bit more and to put our playmakers in positions where they can make big plays and sustain drives and do the things that all of us hope our offense looks like. One that's dynamic and can score more points and move the football consistently.
Mike up here. I mean, you know Brian about as well as anybody, having coached with him for so long. Do you think at Notre Dame he's been able to run the offense that he wants to run for the last 4 years?
I think he's a master at what we've all witnessed for the last 4 years in adapting to the circumstances that he was given. Whether it completely fit within the framework of what his philosophy was or not, he would probably have to answer that better than me. But I know he feels where we are now offensively from a personnel standpoint, how we've been able to build ourselves from recruiting to the players that we have, back in the program now. We have the ability now to really, I think, look more like he has wanted us to be offensively moving forward than maybe the last 4 years.
And I know it's early and you guys haven't had a game week yet, but I mean, you're kind of in a passing game coordinator role before. How much of a change is this really going to be with the fact that he's calling the plays? And I guess what differences do you really expect on a week-to-week basis?
Well, I think it's quite a bit different from my standpoint. I mean, more than anything, it was my responsibility, I think, last year to assist Chuck Martin as much as he needed my assistance, as he kind of built the game plan and put those things on the table. And him and Coach Kelly kind of had the final say-so in the decisions that were made, Coach Kelly obviously in particular. But I think moving into this role, I kind of move into that seat a little bit more where with the help of a very talented offensive staff, it's my responsibility to really make sure this thing looks the way Coach Kelly wants it to look. Have the menu, if you will, available to him that he feels like he needs on Saturday for us to be successful offensively, so that the game runs smoothly and his play calling runs smoothly and that our offense runs smoothly.
And Matt, Pete Sampson from Irish Illustrated, talking to some of the coaches you'd worked with in the past at Saginaw Valley State and Ashland, asked them to describe your coaching style on a week-to-week basis. How would you describe yourself as a coach on a practice field, and how close or far are you from Brian Kelly in terms of that style?
Well, I just try to get the most out of my players, however that would be. I think each guy learns a little bit differently, and really, ultimately, you have to find out what makes each guy tick, and that's what I'm going to try to do over these next, few months, is really develop that relationship with these guys and find out how they perform the best to their ability.
And what's the biggest takeaway you got from working for Coach Kelly for 2 years at Central?
Oh, he's going to demand a lot of not only his players but of his coaches. And I've got a lot of respect for him. And it doesn't matter if you're the best player on the team or the worst player of the team. You're gonna get coached, and there's a level of expectation that will be set.
And could you just talk to us a little bit about I guess the timeline of when he reached out to you or you reached out to him at the, I know you guys talked to the coaches convention, just sort of the process of getting to from Washington to here today.
Yeah, there was a little bit of communication after our season, and then I ran into him at the convention, and he asked kind of what was going on in terms of I had a couple things going on, and more or less if I could make my way up to South Bend, and I was all in. This is where I wanted to be, without a doubt.
Did you, when the things in Washington ended, did you have an opinion of whether you want to stay at that level or go back to college, or did it make a difference?
To be honest with you, I just wanted to go to a place where there's great people, and it's obvious. As soon as I got on campus here, everybody that I met was first class, and you can tell the players here, especially, just in my short time being here, they're unique, unlike most players I've ever been around. Just high character guys, and I just can't tell you how excited I am to get to work with these guys.
Thanks.
To your right for both of you, Tom Coyne, Associated Press. Brian was talking about how everyone assumes that Everett is going to be the starter, but that's not the case, including the players. What do you have to do, in the coming month or two to get the message across that this is an open competition, both to the other players and to the two quarterbacks?
From my standpoint, that's very simple because it's a philosophy that Coach Kelly has carried with him since he began as a head coach 25 years ago, and that's that the best player plays. And he will make that very clear to the football team as we move forward, as he has every year that we've been here, that demands that they stand up and perform and put themselves in a place where they can be counted on as a teammate and as one of the Notre Dame football players. So I think they understand that message already, but as always, we'll remind them moving forward here so that they all have a clear understanding that for us to be at our best and for Notre Dame football to be at our best, the best players have to be on the field at all times. You want to hit that one?
That's pretty good. From my standpoint, both these guys are coming in with a blank slate as far as I'm concerned. I don't have history with either one of these guys, so I'm just excited to see what these guys are all about and, watch them work and see how they compete and, just kind of learn along the way.
Matt Samoji from Blue and Gold Illustrated. You had indicated that this is the place you wanted to be. Did you grow up following Notre Dame? Did you take any other visits here beforehand? Do you have any kind of history or your family?
Well, I think everybody across the country knows about Notre Dame, and especially growing up in Michigan. It's a couple hours from where I was raised in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, so that's about 3 hours away from here. So the history, the tradition, the passion that all the people associated with Notre Dame football, it's unlike any place in the country, in my opinion. And, I've got to confess, I kind of grew up cheering for that Maize and Blue team up north, but I've converted a lot of people already to Notre Dame fans.
Is this month the first time you've actually been on campus?
It is, and it doesn't take long to just the aura of this campus, and you're walking through these halls and you see the statues of Knute Rockne and the Four Horsemen, and you see the 7 Heisman Trophy statues out there, and you can tell it's a special place.
What was your experience in the 2 years you coached with Coach Kelly at Central Michigan? Or what were the foundations and other aspects that you learned during that time, because you had competed against him as a player?
Well, he was a mentor to me, obviously, just getting started in the profession, and just the expectations that are set for each and every player. And, he has a unique ability of getting the most out of his team, whether they're the most talented team or not. And I've always admired that about him. And, you know, I'm really excited to get another opportunity to work for him and really see and try to understand it, how he goes about that and how he is able to maximize the abilities of all his players.
Thank you.
I will respond to Lou. I will say that, you know, Matt, going through the recruiting process as a student athlete, I believe he had Notre Dame in his top 3, along
Yeah.
with Saginaw, right? And,
Yeah.
and Hillsdale. So that was good.
Matt up here, Dan Murphy from Blue and Gold Illustrated. Have you had a chance to meet with Malik and Everett yet? And what were your first impressions seeing them on film or just talking with them?
Yeah, more or less, I've just had a chance to chat with them. Obviously, I was able to watch Everett from afar, you know, 2 years ago. But, you know, both great kids, got a big smile on their face, and I can tell they're as excited as I am.
Brian talked earlier about wanting the quarterback to be more of a playmaker going forward and get outside the pocket. And from working with Robert Griffin in the past, what have you learned about a player like that, and how do you coach that kind of seems like a natural instinct in a guy that they have to take over to do that?
Yeah, it's a fine line because, you know, as a coach, especially with the quarterback position, you know, everything's based on timing and rhythm, and there's a fine line that you can't be too strict in your teachings to take that playmaker ability out of that quarterback.
Mike, from a receivers coach perspective, just your impressions of Malik Zaire and maybe feedback that you got over the course of the season from the receivers regarding working with Malik.
Yeah, I think, you know, number one, I think the receivers in particular feel very comfortable with Malik, not only as his work ethic and the way he goes about his business, which is a good thing for any football player to emulate, but they respect his ability to throw the football down the field. You know, like all of us, we all understand we've got things we need to get better at, and I think what they respect the most about Malik is that he understands his strengths and weaknesses as good as anybody, and is not afraid to dig in and make sure those weaknesses become strengths. And the receivers, I hope, have the same attitude about their own game.
Man, I'm Tim Priester from Irish Illustrated, and I asked a question similar to Brian Van Gorder. Coming from the NFL, that doesn't guarantee that you know more than everybody else per se, but what advantages, what assets, having been on that level and coaching at that level, does that give you coming to Notre Dame?
I just think when your job is 24 hours a day is all football, you know, you're not out the month of May recruiting. It's all football all the time, and you really talk about a lot of things, and it really opened up my brain to new ideas and just, you know, football 100%. All your attention's devoted to football.
And what do you have to learn when it comes to recruiting, especially recruiting at a place like Notre Dame?
Well, it definitely helps when you walk into school with that ND on your chest. Those kids, you can see their eyes light up right away. But I've been out this last week in California. It was pretty nice out there. The weather was nice and warm. But you know, to be honest with you, it's just about developing the relationships with those kids and putting in the effort. And obviously, that's our bloodline. So we have got to go out and find the best players available, and there's no doubt that you can do that at a place like Notre Dame.
Thank you.
Mic check, mic check.
Mike, just what did you take from holding the OC position on an interim basis during that period?
Well, I think just learning more than anything how important it is to take input from the other staff members, make sure that there's a consensus in the offensive staff room, number one, about where we're going and what we're doing. There's a lot of very talented football coaches in the offensive staff room, and and their opinion is very important to me. And building a consensus within the room first, and then, making sure that Coach Kelly in particular, who's going to be the play caller, has a menu of things that he feels comfortable with, that looks and plays and conducts itself the way he expects the Notre Dame offense to do, and making his job as easy as possible as I can on Saturday afternoons. Or Saturday at noon, as the Pinstripe Bowl was.
Anything else from anybody in here?